and Facilities Committee of the Waukesha Board of Education to order. Darren, the meeting has been properly posted, I'm assuming?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, sir. Next up, under general business, is opportunity for citizens to speak. Is there anyone that would like to speak? There's someone in the audience, I think, that's making his way up.
Hi, in case you don't know me, my name is Steve Edlin. I live at 426 Prospect Avenue in Waukesha, the city of Waukesha.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm not really here for an agenda item tonight to discuss an agenda item, but something in general that has been of great personal concern for the city of Waukesha, our community, and the school district of Waukesha. And that is is the mic on? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, it's at the bottom, is it?
Nope, no light. There we go. That's all right. No, okay. Thank you. Just to back up a little bit, now that the mic is on, I just have a great deal of concern for the city of Waukesha, the Waukesha School District, our community in general. I grew up in the northwest side of Milwaukee in a rather blue-collar neighborhood, and it was a wonderful place to grow up, very family-orientated, and things changed. The community changed. And as we all now know, it's a place that is frequented with crime. The community is not anywhere near it was. What concerns me with the city of Waukesha is when I moved to the city of Waukesha, it was probably about 25, 26 years ago, I had that same feeling that it was a great community to move into, where people could afford to live here, and things were on the up and up, and neighborhoods were very stable. I am, quite frankly, scared to death. The city's financial decisions over the last 3 to 4 years have been with complete disregard to the socioeconomic impact that the decision that this city is making. Of greatest concern to me is our sewer and water bills. And most people don't understand that your sewer bills are set by the city of Waukesha. They set the rates, they manage the sewage treatment plant, they manage the infrastructure. There's no oversight. The water side of your water bill is completely regulated by the Public Service Commission and the DNR. So we've run into a situation where there were claims made by the city of Waukesha that radium was an issue, and also claims that were made that our aquifer was declining 5 to 9 feet per year. The radium issue is a non-issue. It's a non-issue because most people don't know this, but Waukesha is a national and world leader in radium removal technology. Across the street from Horning Middle School is, I know it's the largest radium removal equipment in the state of Wisconsin, maybe in the United States. So why do we have an issue? Well, the issue is the city of Waukesha wants Lake Michigan water. They don't want the water in the deep aquifer. They could put radium filters on all the wells, but they want to spend the money on just the wells that they can get away with until they're able to get Lake Michigan water. That line of thinking went all the way back to the early 2000s. And at that time, the deep aquifer was declining. The USGS, United States Geological Survey, is a department of the U.S. Interior Department. They monitor aquifers throughout the United States of America. The oldest well in Waukesha County with a historical significance is on Baxter Street across from Trinity Lutheran Church. It was well number 2, which is no longer in service. Well number 2 has been monitored. There are only 2 readings on file with the USGS that supersede 1973. One was from 1934, I believe, and the other one was from the 1940s. Those were the only 2 readings. And then in 1973, I obtained a card from the USGS that shows how readings were recorded. The Waukesha Water Utility would fill out these cards, and they would show the water level in an aquifer with the pump off. The The reading that is on the USGS website from 1973 is the most current modern record that we have. In the 1980s, it became a real regular interval. And then in the year 2000, the Waukesha Water Utility, for unknown reasons, stopped submitting these records to the USGS. It was trending downward. There's no doubt that it was trending downward, but it's a really deep aquifer. In 2012, the USGS said, hey, we want to start monitoring that aquifer now because we haven't had any readings in so long. And that well was at that point abandoned, and guess what? They discovered that the deep aquifer had risen over 100 feet. It was trending upwards, and all of Waukesha's science for their application in 2010 was based on a declining aquifer. That's a problem. So the bottom line is the aquifer continued to rise, and for the last 3 years, it's been sitting at its highest level since 1973. So we're not running out of water. We don't have a declining aquifer, and we can put radium filters on all the rest of our wells. Okay, now where am I going with this? The city of Waukesha, I got an alderman online to fess up what we're looking at for costs. The costs for sewer and water in the city of Waukesha, according to this alderman, and as figures start to come out, will be between $200 to $400 per month for an average family. Now, why should that be concerned? Why am I concerned about that? Well, first of all, there's no public assistance for water and sewer bills. Okay? So anybody that can't afford to pay a bill higher than their highest gas and electric bill in the dead of winter, only every single month, is going to run into a financial hardship.
30 seconds.
That's going to put a real pinch on the school district of Waukesha. Okay? Where I'm going with this is I'd like the school district of Waukesha to ask the city of Waukesha, the school district, to ask the city of Waukesha to get involved with us in a socioeconomic impact study. This referendum is only going to add $7.50 to an average family's tax bill every year versus $200 to $400 for a water bill every single month. This is going to kill the city of Waukesha. I'm already planning my exit, folks, and so are a lot of other people I know. I will not live through another northwest side of Milwaukee. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to address the committee? Seeing no one, we'll be moving on to our action items. Our first action item will be the approval of the minutes from our August meeting. I'll be looking for a motion.
I move approval.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Como, second by Mrs. Rencheck. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Our next item of business, our action items, is approval of the vouchers. Did we get any questions?
We did that.
Oh, we did not get any questions. Does anybody have any questions that may have come up? Okay, I'll be looking for a motion for approval of the monthly vouchers.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Reincheck. Second?
Second.
Wait seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 0. Alrighty, next item of business would be the approval of appeal request for student transportation. Susan E.
Good evening. In front of you, you have two appeals that were brought to me by two families. Susan E. being the first one, 1917 Wexford Lane. The school district every year reviews bus stops. We work with First Student. We make our best effort to keep all of the bus stops as safe as possible in subdivisions and throughout the city. We work to first prioritize student safety, and then we work to look to efficiencies within bus stops. In the first appeal, it's for a student who was in the 7th grade at St. Joseph Catholic School campus. The bus stop location in the subdivision has sidewalks and curb. The walking distance from the home to the bus stop is 0.41 miles, and it's 4 blocks from the house. We have provided a map for you of this area. Based off of the Google map feature, you can see the 4-block walk that takes approximately 7 minutes. And again, this is for a middle school age student. We've also provided you with a photograph of the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit in the subdivision. The district ruled that we ruled against changing the 0.4 mile. The request was to move the bus stop closer to home. Was rejected that.
Mr. Como?
So it was nothing more than a distance request? I mean, it was,
It was a distance request, 7th grade student, it's approximately 12, 13 years old, 0.4 miles from home. The bus stop was placed where it's at to accommodate some elementary age students who go to the Waukesha Catholic system, so it was moved a little bit closer to their home, which changed the distance that this family has been used to. But again, it's a 0.4 mile walk.
okay. So I'm familiar with Springbrook North, that road.
Yep.
That subdivision. My in-laws lived there for many years, and so spent a fair amount of time in that, actually pretty close to where they live, just two or 3 blocks away, 2 blocks away. I know that the sidewalks and the way it's constructed is very safe. I don't see this child having to cross, it's different when you're crossing like Racine Avenue or, one of the major highways that we have. I don't see a danger in that. When I take a look at this also, they live at 1917 Wexford, correct, Joe?
Correct, in
So the-
and around that cul-de-sac.
Yeah, there's a cul-de-sac there, and as many of you know who have been on the board for a number of years, we avoid cul-de-sacs just because buses can't turn around easily in there. Now, some people will say, well, if nobody's parked there, they can turn around. Well, if nobody's parked there, and if there isn't snow that's been piled up, so we avoid cul-de-sacs, and I'm assuming that's still part of our
Correct. It would be-
preference.
It would be a very rare circumstance, something that may exist out in the country where it is the only safe option, but, our practice is not to run a bus into a cul-de-sac.
Okay. Okay. So this is basically a distance.
Correct, it's the 4-block walk.
Okay. And we really don't have to bus anyone actually within this more of the inner city part for up to 2 miles. Is that correct? That's the limit that
2 miles.
is the maximum walk that a student can
Right,
have?
so about 1.99 miles would be the maximum walk. Anybody who's 2 miles or more would qualify for transportation.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Are we going to take these independently, or are we
Yeah,
going
might
to
as well, don't you think?
ask questions first,
Yeah.
or?
I think we should take them individually.
Sure.
So, Mr. Cook, how does the bus enter the subdivision? Does the bus come through Springbrook?
The bus comes on, looking at this particular route here, the bus is coming in on Springbrook and then going down Penhurst Way.
Oh, okay, so it turns on to Penhurst
I believe that is the direction that it goes, yes.
and then picks up at Rempe in the corner of Penhurst and Rempe?
If I understand it correctly, yes, when I spoke with Mrs. Johnson, our transportation coordinator.
And then do you know how it exits? Does it go down Rempe, down to Springbrook, and then back out, so it makes like a loop?
I do not know the full path of the bus.
Do we know why the and I totally understand the cul-de-sac thing.
Yep.
Do we know why the pickup is at the corner of Rempe and Penhurst and not Springbrook and Rempe?
We look at, so when this particular area, just like all of our subdivisions were routed, we look at the number of kids who are riding in those areas, and we try to place the stops as close as we can to be as efficient as possible. When the bus company and Yvonne work together to set these things, they give priority to placing the stops where elementary kids are first. And then from there, it goes to a little bit farther away, it's okay for a middle school age kid to walk, a little bit farther away would be a high school age kid to walk. That allows for two things. One, the efficiencies in the number of routes that we have to run, but it also allows us to capture the drop-off and pickup windows that we have to meet between elementary schools and primary schools and secondary schools. So there's a number of factors that go into it. And when they placed this stop, it was based off of, one, the safety of the kids in the neighborhood. Again, it's got curbs and sidewalks throughout, but then also trying to maintain the efficiencies in routing.
Okay. Questions for Wexford Lane?
No question, but I have a motion.
Sure, that'd be great.
I move to deny the appeal of the request to change the bus route for 1917 Wexford Lane in Waukesha.
You looking for a second?
Second?
Motion by Mr. Como, seconded by Mrs. Reinacek. Any other discussion?
So a
there a roll call vote?
so a yes vote would
Deny.
deny it, and a nay vote would accept the appeal, yeah.
Yes, sir. Right, and that doesn't need to be a roll call, right?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 4-0. Alrighty. Moving on to the next one, which would be approval of appeal request for student transportation, Rachel I.
Yes, on the other map that you have in front of you, for the 2807 McCoo Trail in Waukesha, this situation involves a bus stop change denial for two children, grades 6 and 8, at St. Joseph Catholic School campus. The family does not live on a home that's on a major highway or a main traveled road. The stop is located in a subdivision with both a sidewalk and a curb. The stop is located in a this total walking distance from the home to the bus stop is 0.2 miles or 2.5 city blocks. And the map will show you, give you an illustration as to the area that we're discussing here. And again, there is a photograph of 25-mile-an-hour speed limits in the subdivision.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Well,
Como.
again, why is this family requesting?
For the walking distance.
To 2/10 of a mile is,
The two block,
Too far.
2/10 of a mile, the bus stop the bus used to stop closer to their home and they'd like it moved back there. But again, we're working to accommodate both the safety of students. There are elementary age kids that are picked up closer to this bus stop than a secondary age student, grades 6 and 8.
and they were never picked up in the cul-de-sac though, correct?
Correct, the bus never went into the cul-de-sac.
I think they were picked up on the corner first in, right?
Moccasin Trail and, yeah, the two trail, yep.
I move
Mrs.
that-
Voigt.
I move that we deny the request from 2807 Macau Trail for the bus stop change.
Thank you. Looking for a second. I will second. Motion by Mrs. Voigt, second by Mr. McCaffrey. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick comment.
Yes, sir.
I really believe that the safety of the children can remain intact.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously,
Okay, so-
we move bus stops as the situation's changed, because that bus stop was moved to accommodate younger children deeper into the subdivision, so. Obviously, you know, the safety of the children is paramount, because that one actually moved, and they want it moved back.
Correct.
So, nope, that's how we think around here. Alrighty, thank you, Mr. Cook. Alrighty, next on the agenda are information items. First up is the referendum planning. That would be presented by Mr. Clark.
Yeah, as we talked about last month, we were in August, September, and October, going through different pieces of the referendum plan. Last month, we reviewed the financing plan in the middle school scope of work. And then tonight, we're just going to walk you through the elementary STEM sites and the high school scope of work, and then touch on the communication plan as well. So if Erica and Kate, and I don't know if Mark, if you guys want to, these are, Kate is, well, you're probably familiar with Kate, she's from Bray.
Most definitely. Welcome.
And then Erica and Mark are both from Findorf. Eric's been kind of leading our communication plan, working with Terry. Terry was going to be here tonight, but she's actually covering a PTO meeting at Meadowbrook for me tonight. So same with Dr. Gray, and Joe just left to go to one too.
Yep.
So
They're at South tonight, right?
Dr. Gray's at South for the Booster Club, I believe it was. So, so am
Welcome.
I connected, Mark?
Yep.
So I'll walk you through. I'll walk you through the elementary and high school scope of work, and then we'll touch on the communication plan. I put in your packet a calendar a rough calendar, this is pretty summarized, of our communication plan, and then some of the other communication pieces that we have going out to the schools and eventually the community as well. So I guess I won't, you guys have lived the background, but we've done a lot of work. This all began in 2015 with the facility study. We did enrollment studies at that time, and then we really got into the master planning leading up to the community survey that was completed in April, May of this year, which showed that 58% of all respondents had some interest, not the specific plan that was surveyed, and it certainly has changed from what we're proposing for the November ballot, but the survey results we felt showed some level of interest in a plan to be brought forward. So that's been our path since that time. Quick financial overview, just for those people who aren't familiar. I think everyone at this table has probably seen these stats several times, but over the last 6 years, our tax rate has gone down 14.3% from $9.58 to $8.21. We're actually on Wednesday at the budget hearing for next year. The preliminary tax rate for 18-19 is $8.12. You know, the board approves a budget to move forward. Since that time, we've gotten additional data. We actually think our tax rate's going to come in around $8, maybe even sub 8, but we won't figure all that out until October. So we've shared data. Last month, we reviewed it as part of the financial plan that we spend and tax well below the Waukesha County K-12 district averages, other large district average, but also below the state average as well. We will be debt-free in 2021. We have $3 million of outstanding debt left. It's essentially three $1 million payments, then we are completely debt-free, which is pretty unique or rare for a district our size to be in that position. And then once the 18-19 levy is final, it'll be lower than the 2008-2009 tax levy. So not only the levy, but also we think the rate will be lower than it was a decade ago. So just some quick financial points. The ballot question itself, I always throw this up here. It's long, it's lengthy, but it's there to provide two things. It provides information for people who we're not going to be able to reach, and in a community this size, we're not going to be able to reach every person as much as we will try. But it also provides the framework that the board will make decisions if everything is approved within. We can't go outside of this scope of work, and that's why it's a little lengthy in nature. So that ballot question will actually be putting, we're in the middle of updating the website this week. We hope to have it up and running by Wednesday, I think, at least the bulk of it. And we're actually gonna have the ballot questions sitting out there so people can review it prior to going to the ballot box in November. Why now? Again, when I came back in 2015, this was certainly a board goal and a topic of discussion that, the study was done, so you'd already made the decision. It was time to start at least having the conversation. I think it's no accident that, our debt's falling off and this conversation is going on. I think that was a goal at one time. Financially overall, from where we were a few years ago, we've come a long way, and our bond rating reflects that. We have a very high bond rating, higher than most school districts in the state. Our tax rate is historically low, at least since 2000. I didn't go back prior to that. We do have some of that data available, but our tax rate is very low in comparison to the last 15 to 20 years. Interest rates continue to be historically low, not as low as they have been recently, but on historical averages, still very attractive. And then the cost of inflation, what I call the cost of doing nothing. Construction costs continue to rise, and with all the economic activity going on right now, I think it's reasonable to say that's going to be a trend for at least a number of years. We broke the need down into three kind of basic groups: security and safety, capital maintenance, building and classroom, and a big part of our scope is ADA improvements. The average age of our buildings is just shy of 60 years. ADA wasn't on the books 60 years ago, so they're just not designed as you would now, a building to allow as much accessibility as possible. So again, we're focusing more tonight just on, so I don't mean to skip the middle schools, but we've covered that before, and I didn't want to give an hour-long presentation every night and do the same thing. So I thought so. But the safety and security, the first thing we did is we identified 17 attributes that we thought, in the perfect world, our buildings would have these attributes. And I listed some of them. I didn't list all 17 of them. Our buildings are all different. I think we have Rose Glen and Meadowbrook, I think, have the same floor plan. But other than that, every one of our buildings is a unique facility with a different layout and a different flow of kids and traffic patterns. But we went through this process in identifying. So each school has its own safety and security plan. We are working, we're going to cover safety and security next month in greater detail, and I'll outline how the state grants that are coming through. Round one we've been approved for. Round two, the application has been processed, but we don't know. We think it's a fair chance that we are going to be awarded round two. And then this question's out there for additional investment too. And we're going to show in hopefully a nice display how the three of those things mold together in an overall comprehensive plan for our facilities. Capital maintenance is really what I call kind of the nuts and bolts, plumbing fixtures, lighting, fire alarm systems, those types of things, heating, ventilation, those standard kind of in the walls, out of sight kind of improvements. The kind of improvements that were done to a great extent for the 01 referendum, which was the last time that the school district of Waukesha had a maintenance referendum. And then again, we touched on building, classroom, and ADA improvements. Some classrooms, it could be as little as carpet and paint, to ADA where we're redoing bathrooms and locker rooms and those types of facilities to, again, improve the accessibility of our facilities to all of our students. The solution on your, I handed them out. On your desk tonight is what we call the fact sheet. And this is our main takeaway or handout for when we meet with community groups. We shared it with Kiwanis and the Ed Foundation last week. I don't think we had it for the Engineering Academy yet, but we talked about these topics and shared the matrix back here. And this walks you through the best we can for a school district that has 26 facilities to try to get it on one piece of paper what our scope of work's going to be. So that, you know, it'll be on the website. This fact sheet will be on the website so people can peruse. But again, we're trying to get it out in their hands as much as possible. But this sheet includes all of, you know, some history with our schools, a breakout of, you know, the costs involved, the tax impact, and on the back side is the scope of work at each site. So if you look at that, the first column is district elementary schools. That includes Randall in that column. We have STEM Academy Saratoga campus listed separately because we listed all of the middle schools individually, and that's why we did that. But you can see the elementaries is really a safety-focused scope of work. We'll do some other exterior site components, which is roofs, windows, doors, asphalt, kind of building envelope types of projects as well. We'll do, like I said, we'll do some capital maintenance, but again, the elementary schools, the main thing is safety and security. And this is a picture of the ideal entrance to a school. Now, this is a building that probably wasn't built in 1950. So it has that, but you can see the foyer off to the right and that first door heading into the office. During the day, that a visitor would go in there, go into the office, check in. Part of the state safety grant is rolling out the Raptor software where you'll hand your driver's license in and a background check will be processed. If you've been to Muskego or KM or McGuanago, it's a very common practice in Waukesha County, and I think it's safe to say statewide at this point. So again, that flow through the office is what we're going for. Now at the middle schools, we're doing them through additions. The elementary level, we've actually started at Banting Elementary. We moved a foyer or a set of doors back, and we're punching a hole into the side of the office, and that'll create that flow in and out. So some of our schools we can do very easily. You have the Rose Glens and Meadowbrooks where the principal's office is in the heart of the building, or Blair where it's on the back side of the building. Some of them are a little more work than others. So the easier ones where it includes a bank of doors we're doing now. But
I see there's also the visibility line, which I think is really important. You know, like you had mentioned, we have no visibility.
Correct.
For some of the offices. But to be able to, it looks like the whole goal is to see outside who's coming in, who's approaching, and then when they actually come in, approaching towards you. So, you know, it's all kind of in front, to the side and in front of that person. So hopefully, with the peripheral vision, you know, you're catching movement outside and starting to bring your attention to that. And so I think that's actually quite well designed.
again, this is the perfect solution. I don't know how many of our buildings will end up looking just like that, but a lot of that functionality will be part of our planning for them. You know, this is built from scratch. It looks like brand new construction to me.
It's actually an addition.
Oh, isn't it?
You
Oh.
can see the thicker walls to the right and bottom. The gym is above it, and it was tucked into a kind of an alcove of the building. So this was a renovation to move the main office to a better spot for this school. And one of the offices, ideally on the exterior, would be the principal's office. So that's another person who has eyes of who's in the sidewalk or coming from the parking lot.
Yeah, we have some schools like Higher where, I can't remember if it's an art room or the teacher's lounge, is right next to the front door, and we think we can accomplish something like this very easily. Blair, you're stuck. Blair, there's the gym on one side and a utility room on the other side and stairwells, so you're stuck with, you know, one idea was even moving the main entrance to the back side of the building where that's not the flow of the neighborhood. And so there's a lot of work that'll go into finalizing these things. But we are accomplishing some of these secure entrances now. If the state grant would have rolled out earlier, we probably would have gotten to more things this summer. But the lead time on some of this stuff, the equipment and getting it on site was longer than summer would allow. But even at West High School, we'll talk about that in a minute, but securing their entrances is really as easy as adding a bank of doors, because you already can flow through the offices if you can picture walking in that kind of grandiose foyer. If you put a bank of doors on the far end of that before the hallways, there's doors to the guidance or the principal's office, and you can get that flow that you desire. So some of them are very easy, a lot of them aren't, but we hope to address them. The other big part of not only the elementary school, but the high school, and actually the middle schools again, is building segmentation. Our buildings weren't designed to be segmented. They were designed to be neighborhood schools where you walked to the door that was closest to your house, and you walked in and you had, complete access to the facility.
Convenience.
Yeah, it was all built around that. And this is just breaking the building down into pieces where and these doors would all be latched open by magnets, and if alarm is triggered to lock down the building, the magnets would release and these hallway doors would automatically lock shut. At this point, you're assuming someone's in and you're just limiting the scope and space that they can move around in. So this is a big part, again, of all of our schools, is just starting to break them down into more manageable pieces and be able to respond quicker.
What kind of rule of thumb did you use when developing this aspect in terms of, is there a certain number of feet that you wanted to cover?
Like some sort of
square
ratio or
footage,
something?
Yeah, I didn't know.
So building code has certain requirements of how long dead-end corridors can be. So that's one of the biggest things that, as Darren said, there weren't meant to be segmented of how many doors. Looking at West, it's a newer school, and the codes were more updated, because I studied all of your schools to see where we could add segmentation doors, and some of them are easier than others, that you can actually have clear division. Some of the elementary schools where the gym essentially located, or the library essentially located, is much more difficult, because there's multiple doors to those spaces. So even if you add a pair of doors on a long hallway, you can get into the library on either side of it and circumvent that. In a lot of cases, it depends on how many people are that familiar with the building. A lot of that, goes down to educating your teachers and just having operational plans. But for scenarios like this, especially dividing the building in half, even one set of doors is helpful, because that's half. So every building is different, and we look at existing conditions, and we look at existing building code, and then looking at the safety for all the different scenarios of keeping your children safe from fire, from weather, or from intruders. So we balance all of those.
And stairs, a number of levels, a hawthorn that really is kind of one story but is 3 stories. I mean, there's all these different breakups and stairs. That also drives what you can do and make it. You have to balance it to keep it functional and build in the security benefits. So we keep saying that, but every one of our buildings is a completely different animal from the other. So again, I don't touch on it again at the high school level, but it's something where it's again K-12 across all of our facilities. One other school that is a little more challenging too, and it's part of its curriculum though, and is STEM. Open spaces. You don't have the walls to put banks of doors in as much or secure an entrance as easily. We can do it, but it just takes a little more planning than some other schools. The high schools, again, we've called out for a little more work to be done at South, but at South we would create the secure entrance through a small addition. West, we would improve that secure entrance. North already has a secure entrance. It's the world's largest secure foyer probably, but it does function as a secure entrance for us. The lockable partition offs, that's the segmentation we were just talking about. Cameras, and then improving drop-off, pick-up pattern at South. Again, the exterior site components would all be the same: asphalt roofs, windows, expanding the air conditioning to the auditorium and remaining classroom spaces. We would not touch the field house at South for AC. That's a significant cost jump. And with graduation now being scheduled first thing in the morning, the first one to go out of our 3 high schools, the need for that event, we think, has been not ideal, but has been addressed to some degree.
What are we doing with that, I don't know the proper name, but the water cooling system itself? Is that chiller? Thank you. Are we doing anything with that? Is that still going to remain, or are we stopping that and putting in real AC? Because, I mean, it doesn't do a lot, really.
So there will be updates to both the existing chiller system, putting in new pumps, new piping, but also upgrades to brand new rooftop units and new ductwork to
Make it
help
more
the existing
effective?
systems. Yeah, help it be more effective and more efficient. So.
Other improvements, again, ADA at South, again, that was built in the 50s, so there's some work to be done there. We built a science lab addition that fits into creating more spaces and better aligning the health academy with the labs and the other classes, and then a one-room expansion of the engineering academy at South as well. The addition of this new secure entrance would allow us to backfill the old administrative office spaces and put classrooms in there. I think mainly special ed, if I remember the plan, but it would all become an instructional space along the front of the building. And here it is from an aerial view. The bigger rectangle at the top of the screen would be the secure entrance. We would expand the circle drive or the horseshoe, and that would be visitor parking for the quick in, quick out type of visitors. And then at the bottom of the screen is where that new lab would go in. And this next one you can see the movement a little better. The long green rectangle on the left side, going up and down or north and south on the screen, is the current offices. That would be turned into classrooms, pretty easy for me to say, renovation, I guess. And then the office space, the larger yellow rectangle, would allow for people to come in the doors to get into that space, and then you would exit out the green rectangles on the side to simplify it a little bit. The lab allows us at the bottom, the other yellow rectangle, creates a lab so we can put the health academy in that green space next to it, which frees up that kind of square, the green square up to the right. That allows the engineering academy to expand into that space. So, and then it's hard to see on this screen, but it is laid out. The spaces that have the light blue highlighting around them are the instructional spaces in the auditorium that we would be adding air conditioning to. The rest of the instructional spaces are already air conditioned. And then on the second floor, I think I took that off because it was such a small space. There is some air conditioning going in on the second floor as well. So South ends up with, we think, a better, certainly a more secure main entrance, a better visitor experience coming in if you're running in midday. I've been asked about the main entrance that shoots straight out the left, right out, straight across from the auditorium, and why that isn't the main entrance. It's a fair question. We've improved parking. If anyone's been out to South on that side of the building, we've put angle parking in there. I think it flows a lot better. But you have, leading up to that, you lead up to a step to get to the doors, and then you get inside and you have to go up some more steps to get up to the hallway level. So ADA wise, in terms of ramping the space, it's tight space to ramp. I don't know if it's even, anything's possible, but and then you have 2 flights of stairs on each side as soon as you walk in. And to secure all that, again, during events at night involving the auditorium, we anticipate using that as our entrance to that event. But during the day, when you have visitors coming and going kind of randomly, we think this alternative secure entrance on the top of the screen here is a better all-around solution for us.
So even during the day, are we closing up where the natatorium is? And I know right now we have people, right? We have aides or hall aides that staff that. So is that locked up during the day, or will be?
The
or-
goal is to have the secure entrance be,
It will be one secure entrance off of Roberta, is
Yep.
the whole goal.
but the answer to that question lies down to here. They'll design it. It's really how do we want to put it into practice, yeah.
Regardless,
For all the students that are parking and coming in.
Yep.
So there's
We knocked around the idea of moving the front entrance to that side, but then you're so far away from the instructional side of it's kind of a tough,
unlike north and west, you have the main parking lot and the main entrance.
right?
So that might be a little bit of a struggle.
this does bring it closer, which is nice, because I know a lot of people do come to the cafeteria gym entrance, and there's aides that do walk them down, or if there's not someone available, they're directed down through the hallway or sent around. This gets a lot closer, it's just 2 turns, that once you come down the long hallway of the gymnasium, you're there versus having to go all the way through the auditorium also. And it would allow you to segmentate the building different, to not get everything past the auditorium.
Oh, so
since
you-
that's the 2-story addition. Yep.
Yep.
You can get into?
Yes.
Yep.
The new main entry would be right next to the choir classroom. That vestibule would be where everyone enters. They'd be one vestibule over.
Oh,
So
okay.
that would be the secure entry.
Mhm.
So that side would be the the main office, and on the other side would be student services, guidance.
or-
So there's still a separate entrance for that, like you have, which is much closer to the classrooms.
That is less confusing for people and shorter, yeah.
Yep, so and it'd be it would be new, you'd extend the canopy and it'd be clearly designated as the main entrance. So it is closer to the gymnasium and the cafeteria entrance.
Question's a good one that we knocked around, but we just thought you would be moving the offices, which would be surrounded by the natatorium and the field house, and really not surrounded by the ongoings of the school day. So, so this is the plan that we came up with. I think it works. Better than what we had, choosing between what is now, everyone architecturally is the main entrance, the one on the left-hand side. And then we've tried the one next to the left of the yellow triangle, or rectangle at the top. We've tried to make that but it doesn't really look like the front entrance of the building, and there was no real parking by it, and so that's never worked right either, so.
And it's not accessible currently.
No, and it's not ADA accessible.
So the parking for the visitors will be on the west side, where we just improved.
Yeah, you can see
In
that
the north.
extended gray,
Okay, so there's enough, the circle's wide enough to have parking. Okay, gotcha.
but it's gonna be hit,
Yeah.
no,
You could extend it.
we would just extend it down further. And again,
How
that,
many cars we can get in there? Is that representative or not?
It's pretty close. We need to have it surveyed, but I think we get at least 10. You do one side, that's one-sided, parallel.
so we think would be a very good improvement. And we think during the day also would give a clear path on where you're supposed to come as a visitor.
It also pushes the 2 entrances for the horseshoe further apart, which is safer for left-hand, right-hand turns.
Comes to, yep. Chances are we'll still have aides in the lobby. That's just the way the flow of it goes, but
As far as exiting, don't the buses pick up in that circle? There's no buses by the gym? As I've been behind them? I was there this morning.
that's a good question.
I thought most of the regular buses are on Roberta. I think maybe the special education buses are turnaround.
In the morning, right?
Not sure, we'll have to ask Joe.
Well, let's get an answer to that. I was told, I just can't remember what it was, no.
I think the ones that come by the natatorium might be for athletics. So the sports teams are picked up there.
Yeah, buses are out in Bergen Sharks, so
I was there too, and I was in those angled parking spots, as you were saying, and that looks
You like
very
it?
nice, the whole parking lot, so thank you. But I've also been there in the afternoon to pick up, and when you get stuck in that circle, you're stuck there for a while, because there is buses, and whether that's sports, that's fine. But I was just wondering, does everybody exit and enter through the same doors, or is it just entrances that way, but they can exit that way? That was my question.
I'm not sure.
We'll get a better answer when we get a layout of the busing. I'll bring that back next month or,
Have over 1,000 kids, I think, right, at South?
yeah,
All
it's,
entering in those doors in the beginning, but they're
Well-
not all as
Oh.
excited to get, is that what you're saying?
no. The key to this is the kids would enter like they do now, or however we would direct them. You'd still have a lot of kids, I'm sure, coming from their parking lot, for example.
Okay, I thought you were saying that that's
But
not
no,
gonna happen anymore.
our goal at all the buildings at that peak time when the kids come or leave is the same whether you have a brand-new, totally secure building or the one that's never had any. You open the doors and you get them in as quickly as you can. Then you lock the perimeter of the building, and then any visitors who come during the day would be forced to go through that office if they're dropping off the lunch or the backpack that's forgotten or whatever. Not all the kids going through there. It's just not designed for that.
Okay, I thought you were trying to put everyone through one door in the
Nope.
morning, and I thought, well, because they're not all excited to get into school, they might have 15 minutes to do that, but at the end, they all wanna get out, so now you have 1,000 kids trying to get
No,
out.
that would be
to
a
those-
stampede.
That's what I was picturing, so, thank you.
No, the drop off and pickup or exit time, we understand that we have 1,400 and some kids to move, so.
So someone could really just go in it in the beginning of the day, and they could go to any door.
I don't know, I don't think any door, but there's
And
multiple
if they
points
just
of
went
entrance.
in with kids, they would just think they were somebody's parent, and they could get them then. It's just, we can only protect them.
There's only so much we can do.
I know, but I'm just saying,
No, I'm agreeing with you. We're making it better.
I actually like this. I think this is a tough one, way tougher than West and North.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I think,
There's a lot of thought that went into this.
no, I think it'll be a nice improvement at South. Again, there's the floor plan, the communication plan. If you look at your packet, I didn't make a slide of it. Erica, you want to walk us through the plan and maybe
Yeah,
some other highlights
so
that
it
maybe
looks like this in your,
on the backside of your executive summary on the blue?
okay. So overall, the goal of a communication plan is to make sure that we're reaching all of your stakeholders, not just your parents, not just your staff, but it is on right now.
Closer.
Any district resident. And your community survey asked some really important communications questions that we use when we put together a communications plan. And we asked how your district residents and taxpayers received information about the school district. And two ways that your non-parent, non-staff population does that is through the Waukesha Freeman, but then also through district-wide mailings. So we are very cognizant that that tested very high, and that was one avenue that we should be looking at in order to create a communications plan. So that's one component. The other component is, after a school board adopts a resolution, a lot of people want all of the information, but it's very purposeful to bring that information forward over a few months rather than sending out all the information as soon as it's adopted. And it's purposeful. If you think about any election that comes up, you get a lot of your mailings, a lot of your information very close to that election. That's usually when people are starting to think about how they're going to vote and how they're going to show up that day at the polls. So the plan is very purposeful in making sure that we're peppering information over a period of time, not overwhelming any one person with a lot of information at one point in time. So some of the pieces that you have in your packet, the fact sheet is one of those examples. Typically, that's one of the very first pieces that school districts put together because it's all of the information that people really want to know. Why now? What's the solution? How much is it going to cost me? So that fact sheet serves a lot of purposes. Like Darren mentioned, he's going to be using it at a lot of the upcoming referendum information meetings that he'll be holding with the PTOs, and Kiwanis was another he mentioned. So that's the foundation for everything that we use moving forward. So as we look at this document then, that fact sheet falls into that first piece of the special communications, but we never lose sight of what the district is already doing. We like to maximize any communication avenue that all of your schools are doing. Your principals, they have their own newsletters at each of the schools, so we can make sure that we're communicating with your staff, we're sharing information with them, so that we can use any vehicle that they may be using for your parent population. But that's where the special communications come into play because it reaches those non-parent, non-staff groups. So the fact sheet is the first piece that we put together. We also have business cards. There's some at the table at the front there, but the business card is a really quick way. Darren has someone in his hands. A really quick way for someone who may not have a lot of, might not have a bag, but they have a pocket that they could put that in and go later on and look at your website. We are directing all of the people that receive information to go to your website because that's where they can get all of their questions answered. And then certainly, if they have a question that has not been answered on the website, there is contact information that they can reach out to. So that is a nice way for us to be able to share the URL, the referendum information page, which the website will be updated come Wednesday. And that evolves because FAQs are a large part of that. So if someone has a question that you're hearing in the community, make sure you share it with Darren and Terry because we'll try and, depending on the question, we'll try and come up with the answer and the response so that you're sharing the factual pieces with anybody that you come into contact with. The other component too is you have a Hispanic and Spanish speaking population within Waukesha. So we are translating that fact sheet 100% into Spanish. We've been working with Natalia, who's been very helpful. And so we're cognizant that that's an important piece of your factual information. We are also going to be translating display boards. And we've identified certain schools within the district that the translated display boards will also live next to an English display board as well, so that any of the family members that are coming in with their students, they'll be able to fully understand what the referendum facts are. And then as we start to think about your non-parent, non-staff, at the end of this week, you'll likely be receiving a postcard. And that postcard is meant to let people know that, one, there is a referendum on the November 6th ballot. What is included in the referendum? They could attend 4 different referendum information nights that the district has scheduled at 4 different schools, starting in September and going through the second week in October. And then where to get more information. So that's the first piece that will be district-wide mailed for your entire community, letting them know that there is a referendum on the ballot. Now, at the same time, at the end of the month, we'll be putting out a newsletter that will contain a lot of the same information in the fact sheet. The fact sheet's not a mailed piece, but the newsletter will be mailed to every district household. And then at the same time, we are working with the Freeman. They've been really good and acknowledged that they tested very high in the survey as a tool that the non-parent, non-staff get their information. So we are working together with them to make sure that in October, hopefully when people's heightened awareness is that the election is coming, we'll have some articles that will talk about the needs, the solution, and the cost for the referendum. So we're trying to touch people in a lot of different ways. They can attend meetings, they'll get the mailings, whether it be a postcard or a newsletter, and then also through the paper, they'll get some of that information as well. And then finally, about 2.5 weeks before the election, we'll have one final piece that will be mailed. It will be a postcard that just reminds people that there's a referendum on the ballot and that hopefully that they're gonna go to the polls and they're gonna vote. So that'll be the last mailed piece that the district will receive.
The second handout, says postcard page 1 and 2 is actually in your packet as well.
Oh, good.
And then the other one, this one here is the poster board, which is that
Also
poster
right there.
board. Those are in every school. High school's got 3 copies, the middle school's got 2. As Erica mentioned, that's gonna be fully translated. We put at 10 or 12 of our schools, I can't remember the number, but we'll get that out. And then this is being translated as well. And will be available on the website.
And then we'll also do ads in the Freeman promoting those referendum information nights for the community to come in and get as much information as they would want about the upcoming referendum.
So this Wednesday, you'll have an updated website with
That's the goal.
a little
is-
better organization?
Right.
And I think that's good. You know, we do get a lot of people that actually watch us on television, believe it or not, and the full board meeting gets a pretty good audience. And I know when I am watching TV and I have a website that I can go to right away, whatever that is, infomercial. Well, I mean, you head right over, right? So it'd be really nice to be prepared.
Right.
To have people head over to the website if they're watching us on Wednesday, so.
And we had a lot of the information, but we were, you know, during the last couple of weeks, we were creating so many things, we were just kind of throwing them out. I don't want to make it sound like we didn't put some thought into it, but we were just trying to get it out there for people to have. And now we've broken it down, and certainly by the end of Wednesday, heading into the board meeting, we'd like to have it in place. We'll still be adding things to it
Sure.
because, you know, FAQs is a perfect example.
We have a
we'd like-
little more organization
Yes,
to it.
you'll have some body, you'll have the question out there, you'll have a tax calculator out there so people can plug in their home value and it'll show the fiscal impact. The contact us will be a little clearer button they can go to and get access to. So I think it'll be, it's kind of a sun-shaped dial that starts with the need, the solution, the financial, the question and
Background process information. how it
background
got there.
process. So what we have vision should look really nice, right?
Yeah,
Thank-
should.
Thank you. How do you know which families are English speaking and Spanish speaking? Like, does this postcard go out in a Spanish version to certain households? No?
No, we are, on that postcard, you'll see that there is a note at the front and back that if someone would like that translated into Spanish, that there's a phone number they can call to better understand that. And so the postcard and newsletter will have those notes on them. The fact sheet will be fully translated, so the goal would be that if someone wants to call and ask for more information, they would be able to send the fact sheet to them fully translated, and they'll be able to get all of those messages in their native language.
Send or refer them to the
Yes,
website
or
for
refer
it.
them.
So that's what this says right here? So
Yes.
if they, so like I didn't know what that said, but if they didn't know what anything said, but then they,
They'll be able to read that and
Okay.
know that they can call someone and talk to someone, and they'll walk them through it. And like I said, if they want that fact sheet to be emailed to them, they can send that to them. The district is also planning two events, one within the district and one, I feel like at a church, where it would be geared toward your Spanish-speaking families, so that they can come in and have the presentation done in Spanish versus the opposite. So they are being very purposeful in doing that. You're welcome.
What is the size of this, of the postcard?
A 9x6.5. Let me see if I have it. And part of the reason for the size is the mailing requirements. So we did every door direct, which is a more affordable way to do your mail and make sure you hit every address in the district. And then that gives you certain requirements of length and height. So this is the size of the postcard. And then the fact sheet's legal size.
I think that's,
If there's any questions,
yeah,
let
you
us
have
know.
questions or comments or?
And like I said, we do really encourage, if you are getting questions, to share those with Darren and Terry, because sometimes they're a frequently asked question, and a couple of you might be getting the same one. So it's important for us to be able to put some thought to that response and push that out there in the FAQs.
One of the concerns with my early looking at the website, et cetera, is that you have to really think about the the handheld, the cell phone kind of approach to things. Because when, you know, the first screen that pops up now is like very non-informational, and the making it user-friendly to know how to get to the pages to be able to flip to the next things. I think that that's a real important factor.
That's a great point. Is the
Is it
website responsive?
responsive? Yeah.
It should be, I would have to check, I know you just launched a new site, so it would be unusual to not make it
Well, it would
responsive.
be odd, right?
So it is a good thought, and I think that's something too that we've put some time thinking about in what the navigation will be and how someone will get to the website, the referendum information page. So we want it to be very visual on the homepage, so people will see that and they can click on it, but it's a good thought, we'll certainly take that into consideration and make sure it's mobile friendly if possible.
Right now, it's a door. It's just like the front door of Lindholm, and you really don't get
Oh.
anything.
That's what that'll be
Yeah,
gone.
That'll be gone, hopefully. 'Cause I felt badly that a lot of the people that are getting this early connection, the article that was in the Freeman that said, here's the link to go, you know, to find out more information. You know, it was a sign-in required to be able to see anything at that point.
Yeah.
You know, so we've come a long way in the last week, but it's, you know, it's a bad first impression when people want to get the information and they go
Right.
there and our website was really not ready for it.
And that's, the postcard will be hitting over the weekend and then beginning of next week, and the website will be up and running at that point. So it'll be the first time without the newspaper being running an article that will be pushing out information.
This will actually be, I don't have the other slide from our website, but this is the second one. Or is this the first one? I forget the order for them now, but
Yes, it is the second one.
it's how you contact us and, you know, when those open houses are. The other one is more of a vote on November 6th kind of,
What's on the ballot?
what's on the ballot kind of question to lead you into clicking on it, and then you'll go to, the door will be gone, the Lindholm, and then it'll be kind of a, like I said, a clock-shaped thing with like 6 sections around it, starting with the need. You just click on that, and it'll take you to more information. So it'll really be however you want to. And also, one thing we'll have on the left-hand column side of the website is the survey results, if someone wants to refer back to the survey and how, you know, what led us to where we are today. Contact us, the tax calculator, and I think maybe the FAQs are going on the side, but.
Yeah, and then I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is also a tab that if it's in Spanish.
Yeah,
So
you
if someone wants to, they can see that and click on it and call and get the Spanish translations.
Como?
So, do we know for sure this is responsive, mobile friendly? We don't know that?
I don't know that, no, but
Okay.
we can check with your.
If it isn't, that's a big deal. That's like almost a given these days to have websites be mobile friendly. If it isn't, I want to know that.
Okay.
We will have over 50% of all the traffic is mobile traffic these days. That is the number one, smartphones are the number one device that people use. So if it's not mobile friendly, we're really doing a disservice to many people who would be accessing it.
I'll have that answer tomorrow morning.
Not to take away from the planning that you've done here, because this is really good.
Right, and like I
The
said.
plan
you
is
did do-
excellent,
Thank
but
you.
we need to make sure that it's getting out to everybody too.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, that's fair.
And reaching all of our constituents, which is, I think you've thought through that well, and you've taken advantage of the survey to find out how people want to be informed, and we're taking advantage of that. So I do like your plan quite a bit.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
That's all we have.
Excellent. Well, thanks for taking the time to come and visit us.
Of course, absolutely,
Looks
thank
like
you.
a good plan. All righty. All right. Next up on our information items is our monthly budget report.
Okay,
Go,
pardon?
you're on.
Thank you. Excuse me. For our revenue for the month of August, our largest sources pretty much are student fees and building rentals. Our student fees appear to be a little bit down when you look at the August report, but I did a little digging, and our September, what we've received already in September is substantially higher than it was at this point in September last year, which says to me that it's just trending a little bit later than it has been in the past, but we'll continue to monitor that and make sure that nothing needs to be adjusted from a budgetary perspective, but so far, no real concerns with that. For most of the categories in the revenue, the interdistrict sources, intermediate sources, state sources, and federal sources, we don't have anything to report for August. We do receive payments in those months, but it's money that's still going back to 17-18 and has already been booked in that fiscal year. So it doesn't show up as revenue in this fiscal year. Other revenues, we received some small payments totaling $4,700. But overall, our general fund revenue is running slightly behind, but again, that's just the collections for student fees and nothing to be alarmed of at this point. For the expenditures, salary and benefits are running just a small bit higher, 0.19%, but this has just been the summer payrolls for the 12-month employees and stipends and things that happen during the summer. When we run our full payroll on September 14th, we'll have a better sense and reevaluate and make sure the budget looks like it's going to project out where we expect it to be. Similar with the benefits, that they appear to be running low, but again, August really, with the benefits, August early retirement had not been booked yet, so it makes it look like we're way under budget for that. Once that's booked, it'll bring it back in line. For purchase services, our main expense in August was for technology and electricity. Electricity appears to be running really high, but it's a matter of timing of payments. So last year at that time, the August, our bills aren't first of the month to the 31st of the month for, or last day of the month for electricity. They run like, I think it's the 5th of the month through the 20-something of the month. And this year we paid the August bill on August 31st. Last year we paid it in September. So it's just a timing issue on electricity. Let's see. And the technology, technology is, we do a lot of technology projects and purchases over the summer, which is why that's one of our higher objects. Non-capital objects, general supplies are the highest spending, which is typical in August. Everybody's getting ready for the school year to start, so nothing of a big surprise there. Capital objects, main two sources. This one's running high, but both are under purchase equipment in addition, and one is for, half of it is for an infrastructure upgrade project, which had a significant price tag to it. New servers, implementation of off-site disaster recovery, improved firewalls, upgraded network connectivity. The overall cost of this project, the outlay is about $1 million, but we will be seeing a refund from E-rates, anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000. It doesn't necessarily come in the same fiscal year. It could be a year or two down the road, but we'll be seeing rebates on that project. But a lot of the cost was paid in August, so it made the budget on this look pretty high. And then the last infrastructure project we had was 5 years ago. The other half of the August spend was for iPads and iPad cases,
So when we have apply for an E-rate and it may come 2 years later, do you just accrue for that, or how do you handle that entry?
Just goes into a category, a woofer, which is our accounting category of refund of prior year expenses. We don't accrue for it because we don't have the exact amount necessarily of what's going to be coming through on E-rates.
So we essentially budget for the full amount, though?
Correct. The budget includes the entire project, and then we get a bonus in a later fiscal year.
Okay. Who keeps track of that for us? Is it your department or it's Steve? Okay.
He's on top of the E-rate.
Yes.
Okay.
He's very good about following and making sure that we get.
I wish he was also in charge of writing the checks to us, because it would happen much quicker pace.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, he does a really nice job with that.
He really does. Other questions on that at all? Okay. Then, debt retirement, we didn't have any debt retirement in August, no insurance, no transfers. Other objects, dues and fees, pretty typical in August, people are renewing all their memberships at the beginning of the school year, their professional memberships and dues. Overall expenditures are 5.38% of the budget in the general fund versus 4.64 last year. But again, there are a lot of summer projects. The infrastructure project was just one of them. So we had budgeted and planned for a little bit higher expenses for the summer. For Fund 27, very minimal activity in Fund 27 to date, really just with revenue, we really don't start to see the revenue stream for special education until November. That's when our first categorical aid payment comes in, and usually our first grant payments start to come in around then. So not at all surprised that we don't have anything yet. Expenses, we have some minimal salary and benefits for the 12-month employees. Again, same thing with the general fund. It looks a little high, but we won't. We'll reevaluate when we have the 9/15 payroll. Other than that, really not much else with Fund 27. It's really on track with where we're at last year. So, any questions on any particular budget line items? Oh, interest, we didn't have all the interest booked. LGIP, we don't always get the statements on the last, the first day of the month. In fact, the statement I just got notification today that it's ready. So the interest seems a little low compared to last year, but that's only because we're missing a very big chunk of LGIP interest payments.
Questions? Mr. Como?
Just real quick on the student fees, it looks like we have 36% that we've collected actually so far. Is that a pretty standard start to the year and they kind of trickle in, or do we have a couple?
They trickle in. We get a big crunch in August generally. And like I said, this year, September, the first part of September is substantially higher than last year. So we have better communications on our expectations now of when people pay, and they do have it until October 1st. And I think some people are taking advantage of that. So August and September are our two biggest places for student fees, and I would expect that number would jump substantially by the end of September, and we'll be able to better look at where we're at compared to years past then.
Thank you.
Mrs. Reinacek?
Thank you. What did you say about October 1st? Does it say that they need to be paid by October 1st?
That is correct.
Where does it say that?
In the fees handbook,
Okay.
every parent or every family gets a copy of the student handbook, and inside the student handbook, it includes the fee schedules.
Say it in campus too?
Um,
Is there a due date?
Yes.
Yeah,
it
there's a
does
due
have
date in
due
campus when you
assigned.
sign in as well.
Okay.
Infinite
just-
campus.
Just want you to know, as a parent and board member, I do not read that, what was the thing that you just said in the beginning? Yeah. I'm sorry, I just don't, and I've just been on this, my kids are going to school, I know what to expect, and I don't open a book to tell me how to do it each year anymore, and so I would love a reminder. I mean, mine are paid for, but if you said something like, okay, now that the kids are settling into school, because it's crazy for the first week, now that the kids are settling, just a reminder, if you haven't paid your school fees, they're due by this certain date. Parents would probably, I don't think they're aware that there's a deadline of October 1st.
And we do have a full schedule of when we send out communication to parents, and there is included in there, I believe it's the first week of October when it's, hit the deadline. It's like, hey, you haven't paid, here's what will happen if it doesn't get paid. Do you need a payment arrangement? Do you want to schedule a payment plan? So we offer alternatives to people.
So that happens
That does happen currently, correct.
in October or before October?
I don't want to speak out of turn, I don't remember the exact
Okay.
date, but I'm pretty
don't
sure it
either.
happens that first week or two of October. After that deadline is passed, we reach out to the people that haven't paid.
Thank you.
and
Okay,
say-
I didn't know any of that. I just thought, you guys just thought, well, it's in the handbook, it's due on October 1st.
It's in the
and I-
handbook, it's in campus, and if someone really looks, it's on our website too. But I agree with you.
If you don't pay your credit card bill, or if you don't pay any of your other bills, there's a notification. You're gonna get a fee if you don't pay it on this day, and then people pay it. your rent is gonna be overdue, and you're gonna have to pay a fee if it's not paid. So when people get those, then they're like, oh, that's a priority. And if they're not getting it from us, it's not a priority, and that's what shows.
Now, we have a year-long communication plan.
Okay, that's always been in place, or that is now?
It started last year, I would say it was in place.
Okay.
Worked on it the first couple of years, and last year was probably the first time it was fully in place.
Really been improving our fee collection process to be able to make sure people are aware of what the fees are, when they're due, what their options are if they can't afford to pay their fee.
And to standardize it across
All schools.
all schools.
Thank you.
Hold on.
One more question. Appendix C salaries? Those are for like our coaches and band directors, you know,
Club.
marching band club.
Correct.
When do we pay those stipends out? Is that at,
Happened in November, so there's one chunk that happens in November, and then another chunk that happens, I believe, is May, but I can double check on those exact.
Is there 2 or 3 chunks?
so it's like
Thought it was
mid-semester or?
B3.
Oh,
It's
what's
3. I think
the,
it's at the end of the seasons.
Right, I would think so.
right.
Oh,
It goes along
Okay.
with the season, because they have,
so
They
we
have
pay
a
them
s-
after
correct.
the season?
Oh,
So they
yeah.
have to complete the
Done
season
working.
and then,
They get
okay.
Now, there
paycheck.
might be some positions where they're year-round advisor positions where they get a partial payment in each scheduled payment. And they have to have so much done.
Not
within
everything
that.
runs on the football season.
Right.
Some of them are semester-driven, and so it's kind of a hodgepodge, but all the coaches, it's after their,
After the season, but the band director gets paid periodically during the year, right?
Yes,
'Cause
sir.
that's a little bit heftier of a salary than the
Correct.
softball coach.
And the coaches need to complete a form that
Lot
have
more
turned
time,
in,
lot more.
to show what they've finished and turned in their rosters and turned in things to, in order to, they need to submit that in order to receive their payment.
Thank you.
And if,
Welcome.
and if they didn't have a winning year, their payment reflects that as well.
That's right, it's cut in half, no.
Yes. Alrighty, any other questions? How does it work at Infinite Campus? Do they get a pop-up that says you have fees owed, or is it buried in
I'm
some
not sure.
backwater?
They have to log into the parent portal, and when they
Yep.
log into the parent portal, they see all that.
Does it pop up though on a screen that says you have,
I'm not positive, and I think they have to click on
they
the
have to go into a
section.
different page?
I believe they
Okay.
do, yeah. Now, if they go into RevTrack, which is our credit card payment
Right.
processing, it'll pop up. Here's the
It
fees.
pops up there, okay.
Yep, here's your standard fees that are owed, and then here's some optional fees that may apply to your
Right.
student.
Okay.
I'll admit one more
I knew
thing.
you wanted to ask one.
No, it's not a question. I'm just gonna admit something else, and you can all throw apples at me.
Tomatoes.
Okay. I was thinking rotten apples, but okay, I'll take tomatoes.
It's the fall.
I also don't go on the portal. And so I wouldn't know that my fees are overdue. So for someone like me that is not getting notified in either of those ways, how would I know, or how do I know you're trying to chase me down for my money?
it's the direct mailings.
A letter, yeah.
A
You'll
letter.
get an actual letter.
Thank you.
We recognize that not everybody
Make
goes
sure we're
online.
getting them. Okay.
They'll get a fee statement when they read, at their forms and fees night too. So if they come to the forms and fees night, they'll get their fee statements, and so.
We give them several avenues to know.
Now that y'all think I'm a terrible parent, it's just that, kind of like when you get something and there's directions on how to put it together, I just try to figure out first. I don't read the directions. So I know how to get my kids off to school. I send in a check or pay on the portal or whatever, but then I don't check it for the rest of the year. And I don't go to page 7 of my book and be like, what am I supposed to do today? You know what I mean? So I don't know if other parents are doing that. If you do, kudos to you, but I don't.
It's all over the board.
Great.
And that's actually one of the reasons that Darren worked hard to simplify the school fees too, because parents would go in and pay their standard school fees, and then come October, course fees would go out there. And many parents like you, they pay their fees, they're not thinking, oh my gosh, new
That's
fees
still
are gonna
all over.
suddenly pop up during the school year. And then you have parents going, well, why do I owe this now? Because I paid this. So with the simplification of the removal of course fees, I think it's going to really improve this process this year too.
Thank you.
Ready? Any other questions or comments?
Confessions.
All right. Is that all you got for us?
Thus ends my report.
Great report as usual. All righty. Well, that concludes our information items. Next up are discussion items, of which we have one, and that would be the Wisconsin Association of School Boards membership.
Yeah, a question was asked about this last year, and we had just paid the 17-18 membership fees, and so I thought I'd bring it forward for the committee just to review. This is an annual bill that we get for being part of WASB, and I don't know how many school districts aren't, but the majority are, just, I would guess, and with a lot of certainty, I guess. But what WASB provides us is we do get some legal services for them. It doesn't get into, high-end things in terms of legal services, at least I've ever seen, like dealing with IEPs or anything. It's more day-to-day kind of legal, reviewing contracts, those types of things. So I do use them a little bit, not a huge amount, but you also get, WASB runs a lot of conferences and enrichment types of things for board members, whether they're new or experienced board members. They run conferences, and they are, I have to say, are pretty, they're well-run events. We also are, you're a delegate then in January at the joint convention. The board appoints a delegate to go to the delegate assembly. So that's kind of the scope of what WASB offers. The fee for the, God, it's hard to believe, 18-19 school year is $13,000. So I just wanted to come in and just reassure, I don't know if I do this every year, but at least us to review it this time and see where we are, what you want us to do with it before a check is cut. The fee structure, the letter that came with the bill, and how they go about developing the fee is size of district. Obviously, we're a big district, so we're towards the bottom of, it goes by staff members, professional staff members. So that's the history of the WASB.
Mr. Como?
Yeah, I know since I've been on the board, which is a lot of years, we've always been members. The conventions have always been good. Some of the workshops I've been to too. I haven't gone to too many lately, but they are very well run. I think it's a very professional organization. I do know though that we are using them less than what we used to, in terms of, we used to be a little bit more dependent upon them from a policy perspective, but now that we've gone to Neola and utilizing those services, we're not calling them up as often for policy questions. But I do know that we do, as board members, we do get some really good information that's distributed still to us that deals with policies that we should be really made aware of. So we still get that kind of information to help us. I guess maybe it's to maybe make sure Neola stays on top of things now. So if WASB is saying we need to be paying attention to this, and we're at least a little bit more informed to make sure that Neola stays on top of things too. So I think it's worth it. I'm glad that we're asking the question. I still have maybe an older number in mind because I've been on the board for such a long time. So I just haven't recalled it inching up as much as it has, but you had sent me some.
You got the email, right?
Yeah, you were able to go back, 3 years easily?
Yes, it goes up a few hundred, based on that snapshot of time, and I think historically it goes up a few $100s every year.
Yeah. I had 8,000 in mind, and maybe that just is dating me, I don't know.
I could call
And
and offer it.
maybe there was a jump at one point in time, a bigger jump, but,
And I don't believe they have, I can check on this, but I'm pretty sure, they don't have like an à la carte fee structure where I want legal services and I want, it's kind of you're a member or you're
All or
not kind
nothing.
of arrangement.
they have some additional services
Yes.
though, right? I mean, you can say, hey, I want some additional legal services.
Yeah, you can expand the scope of legal services that the general membership provides.
I think they do, I think they help with like planning, helping boards put goals together and planning and those kinds of things too. They'll run, they'll run workshops on those kinds of things. I've forgotten all the additional services, but
I think
there's a
they
lot
even
out
get
there.
into like superintendent searches and stuff
Yes,
like that now.
Yeah, they do.
so-
Yes, they used to at least,
Yeah.
so,
And that's obviously an additional charge. You don't
right.
need that every year.
Yeah,
So hopefully we don't need that this year. Do you know something I don't know?
No,
Oh, okay.
I've never heard of that, but, so I just brought it forward because the question was asked, and I thought it was good. This is really your organization, so it's, the answer to the question comes from you.
I actually believe it's a high-quality, professional organization. From a business perspective, I've belonged to a number of them, and some are good and some are not so good. I do think we get a good bang for our dollar with this organization.
All right, any other questions, comments about WASB? Sent something out about expulsion hearings.
Yes,
They do a lot of stuff, administrative
yes.
guidance. Alrighty, so moving on, that's discussion items and other business recommendation for future committee members. Anybody have anything to voice? If not, feel free to email your regular committee chairman and/or Mr. Clark.
Are you deflecting?
No, I want to make sure that it goes to the right place. That's just me. Do we have a need to adjourn to executive session?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I'll be looking for a motion for the adjournment. Anybody? Mr. Como,
I move to adjourn to executive session pursuant Wisconsin statute 19.85, parent 1, parent E, for deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session.
is there a second? Thank you, Mrs. Voigt. It's a roll call vote? Is it not a roll? Yeah.
Ms. Ryanchek?
Aye.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Aye.
Ms. Voigt?
Aye.
Mr. Como?
Aye.
And Mark, we might come back into open session.